Hi, it's Dawn here at Stickletarn in South Wales in the UK, and we are taking part in the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge. I've mentioned on a few other of my previous videos to this all about the Pantry Challenge and how it works and how I'm doing it. So we are now, it started on Monday, today is Saturday, so we're 5 days into the Pantry Challenge. And of course, the first few weeks are going to be ever so easy because, there's plenty of stuff in. I've probably got about another week's supply of milk in the freezer. So when I go out and get milk, which will actually probably be Tuesday next week, I'll go out and pick some up because I can go into what's it called? Iceland, the food warehouse, and I get a 10% discount because I'm over 60. So, of course, it makes sense to go and buy it there. There's nothing else. Well, saying that, rinse aid, I need rinse aid for the dishwasher, and I also need the long matches that we use for lighting the fire. But they're not pantry staples, so yes, I've got those to pick up as well. So that'll probably be Tuesday when I go into town and do that. But food shopping wise, no, there won't be anything. So of course the first week has gone swimmingly, no problems at all, as I expected. I am, right, let me just flick the camera around and just show you what I'm doing here. Right, we did a rough meal plan for the week. I did a lot of meal planning last year, trying to get back into it this year. And of course I'm up to here. I'm not doing a lobster bisque for tonight, I'm doing a lobster chowder. But we have more or less stuck to it, and I've put beside things where they can be found, like the lamb breasts, they come out the freezer. The pork came out the freezer. We didn't have roasted veg with the pork. We ended up having, I can't remember, but you'll see it in a minute on the little videos. I think Martin wanted chips, I think. Can't remember. And I did roasted veg here to go with the spicy mutton sausages. So they come out of the freezer. The bolognese, I used up a jar. But a few of these I found I've been using up jars. And so what I've been doing, keeping a record of how many jars I've pulled out the pantry this week and used. And I'm actually keeping all the empty ones there on the side, so I'll put them away in one go. So I can actually visually see how many jars I'm pulling out, how many fresh items I've taken from out the polytunnel garden, whatever, fresh growing stuff, and how many items I'm pulling out of the freezer. One new recipe, and in fact that's about to be changed to 2 because I'm doing the lobster chowder, but what did I do? The pork escallops, I did that as a new recipe. And dried goods out of the pantry. 3 times I've pulled dried stuff out of the pantry. So I'm going to try and keep a record like that so I know what items I'm using up, and I can visually see that. Because in the pantry, when I pull things out, let me show you. Excuse the scaffold boards drying in the kitchen. Everybody has scaffold boards in their kitchen, don't they? I did think of, when I pulled out jars, of just leaving the gaps. See, one there, one there, one there, one there. But I don't like that because as it gets further back, I won't be able to see what's there. And I do like my jars all pulled forward. But I also want to be able to see visually what things are being used. It's like there's one whole box of cereal gone from there. I mean, at the moment, yeah, there's not masses and masses, going. There is a gap up there. I can't remember what that was. Yeah, so there's, you know, there's not masses and masses being pulled out or big gaps occurring. And I don't like gaps in the pantry, but also I will be continuing to do some canning. Yeah, so I will be continuing to do canning, and that'll be things like leftovers, canning them up, and when I pull things from the garden, you know, they need canning up. So gaps will get filled, but the challenge isn't about not replenishing stocks. It's about not going out and buying. It's about using what's here. Yeah, so the only video I didn't do this week was last night's buffalo stew and dumplings. There is some left over, which Martin will have for lunch today. And yeah, so apart from that, that's because I forgot to do it last night. I was, it was a late finishing day, and dinner had been bubbling away all day, and I totally forgot. So anyway, I will put up all the little videos and photos showing our main meals from this week. I'm not bothering with breakfasts. Well, there's one of a breakfast, or maybe there's two, I can't remember, but I'm not going to bother so much with breakfast and that, because it tends to be things like boiled eggs or porridge or yogurt or, you know, things like that. And you don't want to be seeing that every day. And lunch is usually just a case of Martin has any leftovers from the night before, he will have, or we will have a sandwich, or we'll have soup. So we haven't got children to make things up for. Yeah, so that there's no point in doing, you know, videos of that. So it's mainly the main meals, and any recipes that I do from online that I've got links to, I will put the link down below in the description. So tonight being Saturday, and we're having lobster, and I've just pulled a load of lobster claws out the freezer to defrost. I've not done a lobster chowder before. I've done lots of other seafood and fish chowders, but tonight we're having a lobster chowder. I might even throw a few prawns in with it, we'll see. So that's going to finish up our week. And tomorrow, of course, we're just having a standard roast chicken, and there'll be bits and pieces pulled out of the freezer. Right, let me just show you the freezer situation. In the kitchen, I have two drawers at the bottom of the big fridge, and this is where I keep bits of veg and veg that's frozen from the garden, and my yeast I keep in here as well. So there's just bits of veg in there, and bits of veg and fruit in there, and there's a few frozen herbs and everything in there as well. Right, so I don't actually freeze a lot of, let's go back into the dark hole of Narnia, into the cupboard. Little eerie lights looking at you, there we go. Yeah, I don't actually freeze a vast amount of fruit and veg. Now, this freezer is full of all sorts of bits and pieces. There is bread products there for Martin. There's a couple of milks left. We've got those. More wraps. There's bits of nuts. Bits of meals that are left over. This is all sliced cold meats. And so it's what I call my miscellaneous freezer. There is some buffalo meat at the bottom, but not a lot. So ideally, I'd like to get a lot of this used up. This freezer is fish and seafood products and pork and chicken. And there is some butter in here as well. So that butter will end up going odd little jars of pate or bacon jam or whatever in here. So that's 2 half freezers. I could combine them together, but then I'd never be able to find anything. And this freezer is mainly lamb, goat. Again, there's a few jars of buttermilk in here, which I'd like to get used up. There's some cream there. That's a tomato paste, and there's more little jars of pate in that. So all these little oddments is what I want to get used up. I'm not too fussed about the meat. We will be going through meat because we generally go through it anyway. But each freezer has an inventory. So this is the inventory for that one. This is freezer number 1. That one's the pork and seafood fish freezer. And this is my oddments. So it's mainly oddments I'm going through. And I have listed, it's like, I've got cooked Yorkshire puddings in there. I know exactly how many Yorkshire puddings there are. There'll be some pulled out for tomorrow's dinner, and then I just cross off what I've pulled out, what I've got left. So that's how I run these 3 freezers. This little one on the end is mainly stuff for my low carb keto. So it's my fruits, nuts, there's some any ready-made things that I make up, and then I'll freeze the rest off. Let me pull some of these out to show you. There's more fruit, there's cherries. So I've got some cookies there that I made. There's some leftover pancakes there. That's blackberries. I've got low carb wraps. I know under here there's lots of nuts here. I tend to keep them frozen so we don't have the problem with them going rancid. Under there's a couple of tubs of muffins and things like that, low carb things. So I've done a bit of a combination, pulled things out of the other freezers into here, and I'm going to be working through most of this. Ideally I'd like to get, because this is the freezer I use to keep our goat's milk, so I'd like to get this freezer run down enough so I can move this into one of the drawers. Right, so that is basically the layout of things. And like I said, week 1 isn't going to really make any impact as such. I think it will basically be when I get into week 4, 5, 6. That's when the real impact and the real creativity over menus and recipes will come in. Anyway, I need to say a big thank you to all the new subscribers who've come along, and the questions and the requests for info on how I run my pantry and everything. I will cover all that in another video. But really big thank you to all the subscribers. It's really appreciated, and it's all helping the channel to grow. And of course, you know, many people have said they're interested to see the sorts of recipes that we do here in the UK. And then of course, in return, I'm very interested to see what they do over in America and Australia, and I do believe there's a couple of people in Africa whose videos I've come across. And if you are taking part in the 3 Rivers Challenge, pop a comment down below with your channel name, and I will pop along and subscribe, and then I can be able to follow you as well as everybody else can. So I'm now going to link in all the bits and pieces I've done this week. I will be doing my 3 Rivers update on Saturday. Saturdays is when I'll be launching my videos for the 3 Rivers. During the week, I'm also going to be doing like a standard video which covers the growing, polytunnels, garden, what's happening around the smallholding type things. And then I'm going to try and get another video up each week, or at least every fortnight, covering the craft side. The craft side is something I haven't featured a lot on this channel. I have got a craft channel as well, and I've put a few bits on there. but I'm going to be getting back into my crafts big this year, and so I want to start sharing some of that with all of you as well. So that is my plans for the at least the next few months. So we'll just see how it goes. Good luck, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing all your videos and how everybody else is coping with the challenge and what they're doing. And I will, got hair there hanging on my face. Yeah, like I say, I'm now going to run the rest of the videos, and I will catch up with you again on the Three Rivers Challenge next Saturday. Take care. Okay, Monday the 1st of January and the start of the Pantry Challenge. It doesn't look very appetising now, but it will be later. I had quite a few lamb breasts in the freezer, so I pulled out 2 yesterday to defrost. They're now with a mixture of spices, herbs, sugar, ginger and garlic. It's our own garlic. I've got quite a lot of fresh garlic to get through before it starts sprouting. And the ginger, I have got ginger in the bottom of the fridge. So this is going to be a crispy Mongolian lamb. We've got a bit of cucumber left to use, and we've got some lettuce from last night's dinner, so that'll go with it as well. So that's tonight's dinner. I'll try and link to the recipe down below. With it, I've opened a jar of rice that was canned up year before last, 2022. I've just rinsed it off, leaving it to drain now. And this is going to be turned into an egg fried rice, because we do have a lot of eggs as well at the moment. The rest of the week, I've got a plan made up, pork scallops and roasted veg. I've got a lot of loose veg in the bottom of the fridge to be used up. And then I've got spicy mutton sausages with mashed potato. Martin will have mashed potato. I'll have mashed either celeriac or potato squash that I've got canned up. Bolognese. I'm going to use one of our jars of meat for, or minced beef for, minced buffalo. And then we're going to have a minced buffalo stew and dumplings later on in the week on Friday. I've got, I think, 4 packets of dumplings in the pantry, got to be used up. I've still got lobster in the freezer from Christmas, so I'm going to do a lobster bisque at the end of the week. And Sunday we'll have a roast chicken, which will supply us with cold meat then as well for during the week. So in the pantry, we have got a bit of salad left from last night. That's some of the kebab meat left from last night, which Martin had some of for his breakfast. I've still got some slices of buffalo there, which he'll have for lunch. That's meat that's defrosting for tomorrow and the next day. There is minced garlic, but I'm not in a rush to use that because that's been preserved. The butter, I think I've got 2 jars left of canned butter in the pantry as well, so I'm going to get them used up. What else is here? I know that'll be Martin's lunch for today. There's some curried goat left from the other night. It's got to be used up. And I did open a jar of coleslaw up last night, but we didn't use it. So there's the fridge stuff gets turned around quite quickly. So anyway, that is the start of this week's meals. So I'm now going to get this covered with foil, get it put into the Rayburn so that can cook nice and slow for the rest of this afternoon. And then later on I will crisp it up and shred it for dinner. Right, tonight's dinner is pork scallops. So I've pulled out 2 pork steaks from the freezer. They've been sliced in half and battered so they're a bit thinner. They are going to be dipped in It's supposed to be flour, but I'm not using flour. I'm using powdered courgette, which has been seasoned from out the pantry. Then they'll be dipped in some beaten egg. And I'm using pork panko, which has got thyme, garlic powder, and what else is in it? Oh, lemon zest, thyme, garlic powder. So this is pork panko crumb, and that's what they're going to be coated in. Then they'll be fried in butter. So I'm not using flour, I'm not using breadcrumbs because I want to do them low carb. We've got some coleslaw left from last night where the jar was opened, and so we're going to use that up tonight. I've also emptied another 2 jars tonight from the pantry. We've got some sliced potatoes there that I'm going to fry up for Martin, and I've got some, what is this, potato squash, that's it, and I'm going to fry them up as well. So that's our dinner for tonight. Right, it's Wednesday, and tonight we are having the spicy mutton sausages, and I'm doing a tray of roasted veg with them. We have got beetroot, which has come out of one of the jars in the pantry. There is fresh carrots, parsnips, we've got some of our sweet potatoes, pumpkin, there's some garlic, some onion, and yeah, so I'm roasting all of that veg up. I'm going to brown off the sausages and then I shall throw them in as well. I'm sprinkling on some of the garlic salt. That was made back in, it must be May last year. And a little bit of pepper, not a lot, because the sausages are quite spicy. I've got some of our homemade lard in the bottom, so that is all going to go into the oven to be roasted up for tonight's dinner. Now this morning I did make up a couple of little loaves for Martin because he's now run out of bread, and I did pull out of the freezer some chocolate courgette cake for us to have this afternoon, which we didn't have because we've had the builder in, so hence I've got a bit of chaos going in here in the kitchen. And I had a few sachets of Easy Yo yogurt. They went out of date a few months ago, but I've made one up, so that's in there, so I can finish off the yogurt this week. So yeah, so it's all going fine, and of course it's not only 3 days into the challenge, so there's no reason why it shouldn't. Right, tonight's dinner is bolognese made with buffalo mince, and I've used a jar that was canned, and I've got some pasta on for Martin. So, and I've added mushrooms to it. We had some mushrooms sitting in the fridge, so mushrooms, some of our own homegrown onions, a jar of tomato base sauce as well, and I've just chopped up some fresh basil to sprinkle on top. Right, this is one of my low carb breakfasts, and this is just from the pantry. I've got a chocolate protein shake. I've got a few packs of protein shakes I want to try and get used up. And I've just done myself some 90-second microwave bread, which is done with almond flour, eggs, butter, etc. And bacon jam, because I've got some bacon jam in the fridge that needs using up as well. So that is a low carb, high protein breakfast for me. High protein, it'll keep me full. And Lunchtime, I will just be having probably yoghurt and raspberries. I've got some raspberries out the freezer, defrosting. Right, Saturday night, last night of the challenge of this week for me. And we're having a lobster chowder. So I've got the lobster meat soaking in milk. I'll be using a jar of chicken stock. I've got potatoes, onions, carrots, celery, carrots, onions, potatoes, and that have all come from the garden. I did pull out some cream from the freezer just to add a bit more richness to it. That wasn't in the recipe. Thyme is in the recipe, and I'm going to sprinkle in some paprika as well. And of course there'll be the usual salt and pepper seasonings. I will add a link down below for the recipe, and with it I am serving. I pulled out a garlic baguette for Martin and a couple of slices of keto garlic bread for me. It's one I made a good few months ago, and I just had some slices of it sitting in the freezer. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch up with you again next week.